Welcome to Redbeard Radio. I'm Brian Keith, and today we're talking with Jeff Hunter. You heard him back in 2020 in episode 58 talking about running a remote team. Jeff is one of the two people I recommend you talk to if you're looking for a VA, and the only one if you're looking for an overseas VA. Then Jeff was back here in 2021 talking about how to get out of the trap of doing everything yourself in episode 72. Both useful episodes if you have too much stuff and you need help in getting some of that off your list. Now, today we're talking about the latest thing everyone's talking about, which is artificial intelligence. But before we talk about some of the stuff Jeff is doing there, I want to ask the burning question that everybody on social media has, which is how do you tell who is credible and how do you tell who is just completely full of it and you should completely ignore, if not block? What say you, Jeff? You yourself say, hey, look at me. I know about AI. You should listen to me. How can anyone know that you are any more credible than anyone else?
Well, I think the first thing to notice is that there is such a vast field in AI. There's generative images, there's generative text, there's using it for process outsourcing and having automated processes. There's chatbots. There's so many different types of, not just AI, but some would say automation. Even the further discussion on what is AI. Is ChatGPT really AI? I don't know. I mean, it sort of is. It's definitely an advanced version of auto prediction at minimum. So, it's interesting because I'd have to say for me personally, because I am a marketer first, and I obviously thank you, by the way, for that warm intro. I've been doing remote teams and just leverage in general for so many years, decades, that to me, AI is just another tool. It's just like hiring a person is just like creating the AI to do a certain role. So I guess A is look at actual use model. And one thing I'll have to tell you right now, just because everyone has quote unquote something AI, like every company is integrating some sort of AI component to their business right now. I just saw an advertisement on Facebook for HubSpot AI, where now HubSpot will automatically create assets for you, like, email newsletter campaigns and sales pages. And same with MailChimp. MailChimp just made a new email builder where you can basically tell it what the email is going to be about. It'll load up a template based on what you want it to be. And everyone's doing it. And for me as a marketer, it has to be results based. So I would say the best way to, tell if somebody knows what they're talking about is to see how they're using it for themselves. And I think that's the real key is that useful for me? Because if you haven't noticed, there's a million AI apps out there, but the thing that really I focused on is creating what you just mentioned when you introed me, which is the AI persona method. The AI persona method is about not just a prompt pack and, asking it to do things, but how awesome would it be to create your own human-like AI employee, which is what an AI persona really is, that serves a specific function in your company. So that's what my focus is. I'm not claiming to be an expert in anything else. My expertise is showing other people and businesses how to integrate AI in their life by creating actual, like, very human-like AI personas to do things for them.
Before we hop into that, how many people do you currently have working for you at VA Staffer?
Wow. That number grows and grows. At one point we're at 150 or so. I don't know the exact number.
You're over 150 right now.
Yeah.
So this is one of the reasons I find what you're saying, Jeff, credible about AI is that you have a demonstrated expertise in training people how to do various kinds of tasks and not just one or two people, but like 100 or 200 people. And so I find that your ability to train AI to do something useful based on your experience training humans how to do something useful, that feels to me like you have a better chance than average, to my mind, of you just have a better chance of telling us something interesting about AI. So for folks who don't already know your story, now they know, like, yeah, you have over 100 people working for you in your VA company, which is only one of the things that you do. So with that backstory, tell us about this AI persona thing and tell us into the story first. If I have one of these AI persona things set up, what kind of stuff will I be able to hand it and what kind of answers can I get back? Just give us a use case.
Before we go into the use case, I'm going to have to tell you the funny story of how this even came about. So it came about because obviously what you just said, I have a giant virtual assistant team, human virtual assistant team. And November of 2022, when ChatGPT released to the public the beta and for free, I was completely mind blown. I was like, wow, I can't believe that they're making this available for free. And then I was like, well, it's not going to be that impactful because, I don't know how much it's going to cost. When they release the paid version and stuff, it's probably going to be expensive. But then they sent out this little, like, I don't know if you were early beta like me to ChatGPT for 3.5, but when they said, hey, we're going to launch ChatGPT 4, we're going to have a plus program, and we're looking at how much you would pay for it. And the options were like $20, $50, $75, $100. I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to completely change the whole world, because I was paying $500 to $1,000 for AI software. I canceled all of them, and I only use 2 or 3 software now, and each of them combined is like less than $100. So the reason I started this program is because I was immediately afraid that AI was going to replace my human team. That's it.
Right.
It was completely out of fear. I actually created this out of fear because I said, look what all the things you could actually use AI to do that humans are no longer going to do. And now they just released this week, actually at the end of last week, I think it was Thursday or Friday last week, they just announced that they now have code interpreter. So now
Yeah.
your AI, just your $20 a month ChatGPT, can now take all of your Excel spreadsheets, your CSV spreadsheets, and tell you all about your data, analyze it, create pretty little graphs for it, create QR codes. Like, now it's getting nuts. So I created this out of fear because I wanted to figure out how I could get ahead of the game. And I flew to the Philippines right away in December. So that came out in November. I flew to the Philippines in December. And in the Philippines, I basically gathered up what I call my AI specialist team, which are my leaders on the team who basically volunteered, and some people I hired specifically for the role, which is to basically educate and implement AI company wide to make sure that my team knows how to use it so they're not replaced by it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But to your other question, what can you actually use the AI personas to do? Well, like I said, think of it as a person. Think of it as a human like AI. So, like today, I am planning an event January 6th and 7th, all right, of 2024. And I literally was the very first day of my actual planning. Now, if you have ever planned an event before, which by the way, I have only been on a committee of a few planning events. I've never planned my own event. It's always something that's kind of like freaked me out. It's a little stressful. I get a little anxiety thinking that, about planning stuff. Matter of fact, my wife plans all the birthday parties for the kids. I can't even do that. So lo and behold, I created today, and we just released it to our members, an event planner AI persona that is specifically trained to have the best practices of event planning, marketing the events, to do logistics, to do budgeting, all the stuff that's involved in actually running an event. And it can also be used for virtual events. So what it was able to do today, ironically, I have the image in front of me. I'll tell you what it did today. And by the way, I asked the AI a very simple command at the end. I asked it, I said, who would I've had to hire? Okay. And I'll send you the picture of this so you listeners can tune in. Just go to the Redbeard podcast and check out what Brian's got going on. But I'm going to show you guys exactly what it said here. It says, here's what the event planner AI persona did today. This is today, by the way, in 30 minutes. I did this in 30 minutes with my team on the call to start planning this event. It created a detailed event timeline. And it says it would have had to hire an event planner, and it would have took the event planner about 4 hours at about $25 an hour, so $100. And then it created a sales page copy for that, which would have taken a professional copywriter about 2 hours at about $50. And then it actually created a homepage website copy, which would have taken about 3 hours or $75. And then it wrote a sales letter, which would have taken a professional copywriter 2 hours to do, about $50. And by the way, this is using super low conservative estimates.
Yeah.
I just told it $25 an hour because you could probably go on Fiverr or Upwork and find one like that. Now, how good it's going to be, I don't know. I'm just giving you minimum estimates. Okay.
Yeah.
Then it wrote a press and media strategy that would have taken a PR specialist 4 hours to do. And then it came up with a marketing strategy for multiple social media channels and email marketing, which would have taken 6 hours or 180 bucks. And then it wrote a custom letter about why I decided to have the event in Las Vegas and all the attractions they can go to while they're in Vegas for the event. It says it would have taken one, two, three, four different professionals, 22 hours, and at the lowest absolute minimum of only paying 25 bucks an hour, it would have costed $630. My AI was able to do it in 30 minutes.
So, what does this mean for people? Are you saying that you're going to sell all the details to create an AI persona of an event planner? Is that where the money is? Or is it in training people how to do this or what?
The money for me is every single business in the world, and human, by the way, because even my goddaughter who just graduated from college, I actually joked at her graduation ceremony and I said, "You are the last generation that will ever truly do homework." Right? It's going to do homework. It's going to do your strategy. It's going to write your email newsletters. It's going to write your social media posts. It's going to do all the stuff. And for the listeners here, I'm just focused on marketing. That's my expertise. Okay. Marketing and leverage. Okay. So the future for me, what's really important here is that every business is already going to be impacted by it. And now businesses need actual people that are smart and savvy and actually learn how to use AI and these different models to create leverage. And by the way, most business owners are busy running their own business. They don't have time to play around with AI and figure out something new. So for me, I've been able to create over $120,000 in the last 90 days just doing AI consulting and showing businesses how to create AI automations by creating their own, like I said, AI personas or AI employees in their business to do functions in their jobs. I have an email newsletter person. By the way, I have a Filipino virtual assistant who has never written an email newsletter in her life. She's not marketing trained, but we created an email newsletter AI persona that she uses. I'm creating chats that they're using, and she created over 80 email newsletters to my current customers and potential customers. 80. She's never done it in her life.
It's a question of who can build the best tools and how fast can they build them, and how well can you discern what a good tool is versus a bad tool? Because for every tool like the one you just created for your staffer, there's a million crappy versions out there that will not return good results.
I mean, even just go to the Chat GPT 4 plugin store and look at the 90 pages of plugins, and like 90% of them don't work. Right?
Yeah.
So like what's been really key, okay, and I'll give a little taste to your viewers here, is there's really six main steps of really truly harnessing ChatGPT in your business by creating what I call AI personas. And that's by creating a human-like AI that actually has its own personality. It has its own job, its own specializations.
Hold on here. What does personality mean when you're talking about a robot?
Wow. It's very deep if you think about it.
Because I know what personality means. We have one of your staffers on one of my teams. We love Trisha. She's fantastic. We know what she can do. We know how reliable she is. She shows up. We have an interaction with this human being who happens to live in the Philippines. We know Trisha. We know who she is. She knows who we are.
Mhm.
We have our established ways we interact. That's great. We love that team member. But you're saying, what's the personality of this AI persona? So,
So the personality of these personas is its own tone and how it communicates with you. So this is basically a Build-A-Bear AI, right? Like, what's your perfect, like, here, let me give you an example. If you're going to build a professional copywriter, let's say a sales copywriter, you know that that's going to be persuasive, right? You know that that person's going to be persuasive. They're going to be value driven. They're going to be maybe even a little, for me personally, I'm a little cocky, a little sarcastic. I've learned a lot of my copywriting from Dan Kennedy, and that's another beautiful thing. You can even say, like, for example, the sales letter that I had it write earlier was in the voice and tone of Dan Kennedy, just because I wanted to show people what it could actually do. And yeah, I know we don't have a lot of time on this podcast, but I want to read just the first couple sentences here.
do it.
Would that be cool? You want to hear some real results?
Yes.
All right, so I'm putting together an event. It created the whole event. It came up with the name of it and all the stuff. And then I asked it, I said, okay, cool. I want to send this out to my existing clients and invite them to come to this thing. And basically the prompt, and by the way, if I use this prompt without an AI persona, you're going to get horrible results. So this is the difference between having just using chat prompts and pasting stuff in there. Like you can go on Facebook and see an ad for somebody's 3,500, prompt pack or something, versus creating an actual person. Like I try to train people, just like what you noticed earlier. I have been building remote teams and hiring people for over a decade. So I treat the AI the same way as I do my humans. So he says, hey, aspiring business revolutionary. My name is Jeff J. Hunter, futurist, technophile, gamer, and most importantly for you, expert in leveraging the power of AI and remote teams to supercharge your business productivity. Today, I'm inviting you to a one-of-a-kind event. Quite simply, could be the most important 2 days in your life. The future of business, thriving in the age of AI and remote teams. We're convening on January 6th and 7th, and you simply must be there. And by the way, the word must is capitalized. Why am I so insistent? Simply put, there's a significant shift happening in the business world right now, a shift that could make or break your business over the next few years. That shift is the convergence of artificial intelligence and the emergence of remote teams. And this event will equip you with the practical knowledge and strategies to expertly navigate this change. Still skeptical? Think about this. According to a 2020 survey from Gartner, 90% of corporate leaders plan to allow employees to work remotely even after the pandemic is over. Moreover, McKinsey and Company predict that AI effective businesses could realize an additional 6 trillion in revenue annually. The real question is, are you positioned to capitalize on this shift, or will you watch your competitors as they do? And it keeps going. This is actually a long sales letter, but I just wanted to show you how amazing that is. That is some really good copy. And by the way, I have paid thousands of dollars to professional copywriters to write things that didn't sound that good.
Yeah, that's the next question is how similar is that to you?
Very similar. Now, I have to admit, that was in the voice of Dan Kennedy, but I love the writing style of Dan Kennedy. And he's also somebody that I've read all his books. A lot of my sales copy, a lot of my marketing strategy come from him. If you don't know, I highly recommend his readings. You should definitely put a link to the Amazon book, The No BS Guide to Marketing, which is one of his forefronts. The cool part too about AI is even if you suck at writing, which is 99% of people, you can instantly take this persona, can take on a legend like Dan Kennedy and write things for you better than you ever could.
Well, so let's talk about the digital rights aspect of this. Why can't I just tell AI, hey, AI, go ahead, make me an AI persona as if I was Jeff Hunter? If it knows how you think, if it can take what you say and it can just be you, that seems like, and John Robb calls this the digital rights problem.
We have a digital rights problem, and we probably have the most important and impactful moral dilemma in the history of modern times in the digital information age. And I'll tell you, it's going to be very interesting because, to do, I don't know if you're a big movie buff or if you like sci-fi, but I love sci-fi. And it's kind of a digital information version of Dune, the movie Dune, where he who controls the spice controls the universe.
Yeah.
And it's going to get to the point here, and I'll tell you an even further dilemma, addressing your specific point before I move on and get a little crazier. So for me, I'm actually creating a ghostwriter AI persona right now that knows my family. It knows my history. It knows stories from my own childhood. It knows about my mentors. It knows about my favorite books. It knows about my readings. And it's ingested, get ready for this, every single Facebook and LinkedIn post I've made since 2016. Okay, and now on this, I'm using an advanced model called Claude made by Anthropic. So it's able to ingest an entire book. It can actually absorb 284 pages of a book at one time. So, by the way, it used 184 pages to take all of my copy that I've written since 2016. So, just to put that picture out there. So, I'm creating a very humanistic ghost of myself. Now, does that raise ethical dilemmas? I mean, what happens when I upload my friggin' whole life work in there? Who owns that data? And is it ethical for it to use my information to create stories? I can go into that right now. And I'm not kidding you, Brian. and I've done this live for my students. I've shown them, I've said, hey, this basically is my ghostwriter, and I can write on any topic and it will sound like me. And most of my followers, I mean, Brian, we've been friends for a long time. You know my copywriting style. And if we said, hey, write a topic on red beards, right? It would write a topic on red beards and you would read it. And even myself would not be able to even recognize, I would say it's probably about 90% of my writing ability.
Then you add this in to the synthetic voice and synthetic video that exists right now at consumer cost levels. The world's getting crazy. Jeff, for people who love this conversation, they want it to keep going, though sadly we have to stop it right now. Where should people go to follow more and learn more about AI personas, everything else you're talking about?
The best place to get crazy is my own website, jeffjhunter.com. Just Jeff, the letter J, hunter.com. If you click on the About Me page, you'll see all the crazy stuff I'm into. You'll see the AI persona method, my virtual assistant company, and even some crazy stuff I'm doing on the blockchain side. Definitely a digital futurist, and even branding. I mean, there's so many different ways that we're going to be using AI in our business. And I'm just excited to even, I mean, this podcast alone proves we've barely scratched the surface and probably left everybody with so many questions.
Yes, welcome to the next decade, folks.
We're going to have to do another one of these.
Yes, thanks for coming back on the show. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Brian.